Hey everyone, welcome to today's Cornerstone Connection. My name is Nate Carter. Do you remember what the beginning of 2020 was like? Now, that's a bit of a trick question because when you think 2020, you probably think COVID, pandemic, lockdowns, unrest, all that kind of stuff. But if you remember the beginning of 2020, the first couple of months were looking great. In fact, I remember thinking that in a great sermon series during that time would have been 2020 vision, looking forward to what 2020 was going to bring. And here at Cornerstone, things were going great. Things were really taking off. And then, of course, everything took a major turn. As we look at today's Bible passage in Genesis chapter 12, we see Abram receiving a vision for the future. And what we realize is that we're seeing this in hindsight. Now, the true statement is hindsight is 2020, right? And so as we look at the year 2020 in hindsight, we know kind of what it was, but we have no idea what was coming. Same thing with Abram. We know what's going to happen because we stand on the other side of history and we know how God is going to bring about his promise to Abram. But Abram doesn't know that. All he knows is what happens here in verse 1. The Lord speaks to him and says, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land I will show you." Now, we could just stop right there because do you notice that phrase at the very end? The land I will show you. Leave this and go to the place that I haven't even shown you yet. You don't even know which way you're going. Just start walking and I'm going to show you. See, God's given Abram a vision for the future. He gives a little bit of clarity here in verse 2. He says, "I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others." And he gives this promise, "I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt." And I love this, of course. We know what this means. All the families on earth will be blessed through you. Eventually, God's going to bring back his cosmic plan of redemption through the descendants of Abram. But all he knows right now is that he has to leave behind everything that's familiar, and he needs to go forward and walk by faith to a place that's not even clear yet. Now, later on in this chapter, in verse 7, God appears to Abram and says, "I will give this land to you, the land of Canaan." And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord who had appeared to him. So we see that there's a little bit of clarity starting to happen here. But let's think about what's about to come. Later, even in this chapter, Abram's he's gonna lie about his wife and say that she's his sister out of a lack of trust, really, for what God could do, but instead taking things under his own control. Later on, Abram's going to be asked to sacrifice his son, to sacrifice what seems to be the promise that God has made for him. And the story continues. There are twists and turns. All Abram has been given from God is a vision far down the road of what's to come, but he has no idea how he's going to get there. I find this strangely encouraging because as we hear the Lord speak to us and say, "You know what? It's time for you to start walking. It's time for you to walk away from whatever current situation it may be. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's the city you live in, maybe it's just the way that you're living your life right now, your habits. I want you to walk away from those things, and I'm going to show you something, and it's going to be great. But for now, I'm not going to tell you what that is because I need you to trust me. I need you to walk by faith." And we know that God, because he is faithful to us, is going to bring us into a place where we can serve him and enjoy his presence and enjoy being used by him to the fullest. But sometimes we don't know what that's going to look like until we look back in hindsight, and then we see that hindsight is 2020. So if God's calling you out of your comfort zone right now, you can trust him. And you can trust him even if you don't know what the path may be ahead, but you just know to take the next step, and he's going to lead you there. As we finish today, just a reminder for those of you here in Marshfield that we've got 2 new Sunday Plus groups starting this Sunday during the first service, Discipleship Explored and Emotionally Healthy Relationships. I encourage you to check out one of those during the first hour and then join us for worship during the second hour. Until next time, friends, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.